Welcome back to Why We Love Horror 3.0. I'm John Maher. That's Abby. Aaron with this nice haircut. How you guys doing this week?
We're doing fine.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. If we're judging by how the movie was.
I mean, we'll get into the general reaction to this movie, I guess. I think most of the discussion today is going to be about discussion of the movie, not even about the movie itself, because the movie itself, everybody's either seen this movie or they've seen the original movie, so they know exactly what this movie is all about. If you click on the thumbnail, you know it's The Strangers Chapter 1, and I'm not using the trailer that they played in the theaters because that has music in it, and I know YouTube's going to flag it, so I found a different trailer.
Do you hear that? The silence. It's nice.
Chapter 1, rated R, May 17th.
Way simpler. So we are talking about The Strangers Chapter 1 today, and I'm going to come right out here and say it. I didn't dislike this movie. If you go around YouTube, if you go around TikTok, if you go around any social media platform, there's people absolutely losing their shit, like somebody went out and murdered children or something. Listen, I've been in the horror game for a while. I've talked to hundreds of people about what their favorite horror movie is. You know what no one's ever said to me? The Strangers is my favorite horror movie. No one's ever said that to me, ever. Guys?
Yeah. So I think we're all along the same lines with regards to that. This is going to be a semi-spoiler to the episode here. It's going to be a little bit of a bashing on The Strangers as a heralded classic of all time classics here, because it's not to me, and when I saw it, it was fine. I like this movie more than the original. If I had saw them both for the first time, like blank slate, this movie is essentially a decent to good cover of The Strangers with some open-endedness to the end of it, which you knew going in. They, didn't even hide with the advertisement. All three movies are already made. And this one made $9 million its first weekend. And so they're all coming out in theaters. So there's nothing else to really be said about it from that regard. And I guess if I held the first Strangers as this classic, I would be more offended here, but I don't. And I'm the biggest Rennie Harlan fan of the three of us here by far. And everybody will bring up Deep Blue Sea, but Devil's Pass, great horror movie he's already done. So I liked it. I thought it was great. Others didn't. That's okay. But what's your thoughts, Abby?
Well, yeah. So for The Strangers Chapter 1, I mean, yeah, we kind of already said it. We did not hate this movie like a lot of other people did. And I think for me personally, yeah, it's because I don't particularly love the first Strangers movie that came out back then. I saw it when it first came out, and I'm like, okay, this is whatever. But yeah, a lot of people regard it pretty highly. They don't call it their favorite movie, no, but there are a lot of people who are like, this is great. This is one of the best horror movies that came out in 2008. Yeah, so I don't agree with that at all. I think it's overrated. But yeah, I don't think that I would prefer to watch this one, honestly. And I have no shame in that.
Yeah, I'm gonna really drive this home. This horse is dead, but I'm gonna beat it. I have no problem with Brian Bertino's The Strangers. I think it's a great movie. But is it the top movie of that year? No. Is it in my top 10 of that decade? Nowhere close. But it's a fine movie. And this is basically what happened. I know when they did all the press for this movie, they were not answering questions directly. They were being kind of douchebags when they were asked, is this going to be a prequel or a reboot or a requel or whatever? And they just would not give a straight answer. If they had just said, look, the original Strangers doesn't lend itself to expand its mythology, and we're just going to go back and clean up the movie and make it so we can make more without making a Strangers Pray at Night, which is tonally the opposite of The Strangers. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and defend and say it's the greatest marketing ploy ever done, but they're doing what they want to do correctly. So lay off the team. Like, just let them cook. I have a feeling it's going to wind up being pretty good.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And so, and just last part on the dead horse here that's been beat to death. If you want to go to like the best like home invasion, most brutal home invasion, like nihilistic feeling home invasion, Straw Dogs from the 70s. That's my recommendation. So just a little bonus recommendation there. Let's talk about The Strangers.
Yeah, I'll do like the home invasion movies. Strangers isn't even in the top 20. Like, what do you calm down? Like, yeah, like the remaking I Know You Did last summer. Like, why would you touch this classic? Shut up already. Like, if a movie can be remade, they should be remade. And I'll talk about that later when I go over my movie that I watched for this week. Because there's plenty of movies that should be remade. Was The Strangers one of them? Not necessarily, but I'm not mad at the reasoning behind it. But yeah, the movie, Abby, crack at what happens in this movie. Let's pretend these people don't know what The Strangers is at all. Go ahead.
So in this movie, yeah, I'm still. It seems like it's a remake, honestly, but with a couple of different things. So what this movie is about, it's a young couple. They're on some type of road trip. They say that it's for a job. I think they're driving from like Chicago to Oregon is where this takes place. They end up in this like bumbly town with all of these people who are giving them dirty looks and seem very sinister. Car breaks down and they end up staying in an Airbnb in the middle of the woods in Oregon. And a couple of people with masks knock on the door looking for this Veronica again, or whatever the heck her name is.
Tamara. They kept that. Tamara, not
Veronica. Yeah, Tamara. Looking for her again, and they break into the house and terror ensues. And that's basically what the first Strangers is as well. Again, they add a little bit more background and development to this one, I think, which I particularly liked. Because in the first one, it's pretty much just a couple that they're having issues, and then that's that. And then there's not really much else background. This one, that you have the thing with her job, you have like some other stuff that they're talking about. And I kind of like that. I liked these characters. I didn't mind them. And I liked how it was all set up.
Yeah. Justice for asthmatics in cinema. That guy. What I want to know is, and this happens, I want horror writers to stop being lazy about asthma. Like, if you're like a character that has, like, there's people that just have asthma and like whatever, but if you have asthma to the point like your inhaler is crucial, you are not forgetting your fucking inhaler. Like, we're talking about like Jenna Ortega's character in Scream, and this dude in this movie, like, dude, this
guy's pretty dumb. Ryan is pretty dumb. He doesn't know how to eat a burger at all, and that was upsetting and disturbing.
So I also don't understand. So you put the spoiler thing up with his inhaler, and he just like is sucking on a water bottle. How did that help him? Like, I don't understand that at all.
Shitty inhalers, like the one Mikey Walsh uses in the Goonies, are just like misting the inside of your lungs to like moisten the lungs. So that's what he made. He made like a ghetto West Virginia. Sorry,
I was like, what is he doing?
Inhaler, and yeah. So he's like a resort. If you're asthmatic to the point that you can MacGyver an inhaler out of a water bottle, you're not leaving your fucking inhaler anywhere. All right, like you're not leaving it anywhere. So I think that plot point in horror movies needs to die. Like, I need no more asthmatics, no more irresponsible asthmatics in my horror movies. I'm talking to you.
Yeah, the jump scares, but there were some, like, I feel like, effective jump scares in this movie at times, and maybe that benefited from watching it in the theater, which we got to do. But
it was a lot of loud noises, but I agree. I thought the jump scares worked.
Yeah, I thought they worked for the most part. I thought that Madeline Petch was really good. I haven't seen her in anything before. I guess she's from Riverdale or whatever.
Yeah, she's good in Riverdale for the one season that I watched.
Yeah, but I thought they picked the right one to keep alive by the end of it all, and she did good. And I mean, yeah, this movie is like a solid, double, I would say, if you're putting it in terms of old man baseball.
You know what I would say? I would say like I had faith in whatever was going on, right? When I saw that they cast Richard Brake as the sheriff and he was in the movie for like 90 seconds. I was like, well, clearly this guy's going to come back in the second and third movies. And if you don't know who Richard Brake is, cut yourself a little bit. He's awesome. So if he's going to have any role in the next two movies, like we're in for something great.
And I agree. Like, you definitely have to be patient here. If this was just called The Strangers, I would be rating this a little bit lower, probably. But I know all three movies are made. I know we're going to see them on theaters this year or within close succession. And, you know, again, I like Rennie Harlan. So I was going to give this movie more of a chance than most people. I'm probably about as welcoming an audience as this is going to get.
Yeah. And like I said, like they do things in this movie that they didn't do in the original, which lends more to a franchise than the original. Like we get the cold open, like the old wrong turny cold open where we see the strangers kill somebody else. You didn't have that in the original. We get like more about the town, more about like, I don't want to say they're necessarily red herrings. The town's just hostile. And like there's like missing posters, so clearly they're setting up the mythology that this happens a lot. We don't know if they're locals or if they're external people to the town itself. There's a lot going on because clearly, like, you know, the strangers, the character I guess that was played by Glenn Howerton in the original, there is no friend coming to visit. It's the owner of the house that meets the same fate as
the exact same fate.
Right.
And those are some of the parts where if I wish I didn't see the original going into this one. Cheap plug for Jason Johnson. Did not see the original going into this movie. And
really?
He had never seen the original. He's too good for it, of course. But you know, Billy Wilder did not write The Strangers. I will not. But you know, he got that experience, although he probably still didn't like this movie because you're not supposed to. But I wish I hadn't seen The Strangers for so many reasons. Above all, I think it's mediocre. But second is that, I would have liked to be surprised by those moments that were beat for beat the same moments. So it's just like, you know, that Fast Cars song by Tracy Chapman's like back with that country guy. Maybe
they don't change the pronouns. He's singing like he's in a gay relationship.
This is what I'm saying. Which either A, that's awesome, good for you, you go guy, or B, he's Rennie Harlan, where he's really not making any effort to try and change some of the beats there. So shame on both.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few like novel things that I don't think in the original they ever even make it out of the house. Like, right?
I think the guy leaves, which was the same as well. Which I forget where the guy went exactly in the first one, but I'm pretty sure the guy left at one point and the girl was alone for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm saying in this movie, even after they're both back at the house, they still make it out of the house again. Yeah. And so, like, I mean, you cannot hate on what was added. Like, is it a shot-for-shot remake? Not exactly, but are all the shots from the original in here? Yes, but it's not a shot-for-shot. So, so if you've seen the original, you know exactly what happens. If you haven't seen the original, you know they don't escape, but they kind of the girl survives, which is the same as the original. And that's all the spoilers we need to give for this movie. Yeah. Anything else we need to wrap up about the movie? Like, I honestly, I think it's all the hate is just knee-jerk reactionary nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, I kind of understand where some people are coming from. People are just tired of the sequels, reboots, whatever, especially if they're mediocre. I mean, I don't think this one necessarily did anything groundbreaking. I'm not saying that this is a great movie or like a perfect movie, I should say, but I think it's okay. I mean, I think compared to some of the other movies that came out this year, this one is fine and definitely not worth like a 1 star or a half star that a lot of people are giving it. I think, again, like the added like character development, and it kind of is a little bit of a different ending in a way. Again, we just need to see what's going to happen. And like leading up to the movie, I kept saying we can't judge, like we have to be able to judge this movie based on itself and not on the sequels that are supposed to come. We can't just judge it as a trilogy, which I guess we can when they all come out, but you should be able to judge it as a singular movie. And I think as that, it's not the worst dumpster fire that people are saying it is.
Correct. Aaron, anything else?
Yeah. No, I was expecting to really hate this movie, or at least dislike it as much as the original. And I think it did some things to make me like it a little bit more. And maybe it's just a more likable two people than Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman were in the
I
original.
agree with that as well.
Like, I
Yeah,
don't.
they're clearly like in love, which I guess is an improvement on the original. You know,
If we
Sure.
want, yeah, if you want to throw up that spoiler tag one more second,
I'll put those spoilers back up for you.
One more second. 5-year relationship, and then they just now decide to get married. Always bothers me in movies when they're like so in love and like so sure they're gonna be, but like now, like you're gonna decide to get married, like
When
you
they're
couldn't-
like about to die.
yeah, like you couldn't decide, but we're about to Romeo and Juliet, obviously. Spoiler gone. Yeah, but yeah, no, I had a good time for the most part with this movie. I would revisit this probably. Well, actually, I like Pray at Night a little more, but I would revisit this way before the 2008 version.
Yeah, another big thing that isn't a spoiler, but we have to understand this is like as far as like hyped movies, this is coming out in the landscape of Imaginary, Night Swim, Tarot. Like this blows all those movies away.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
sure. Yeah.
Let's say that as well.
And
Yeah.
Dark, Beautiful, and Lovely, or whatever that movie was.
Well,
Nobody
that
knows
was
what that is.
that was a VOD darling.
I don't care. Death by Doorknob, whatever it is.
All right, let's get to these ratings. That's an echo. I'll edit that out too. I'll go first. I think everything we said, you probably predict what my rating's going to be. I braced myself for a bad movie because everyone I respected, not everybody I respected, but a lot of people I respected were just coming out like, oh my God, how could you? And I was like, I don't really remember The Strangers being like the thing, you know, but like whatever. It's a 3. It's fine. It's actually like right at the edge of where I start calling movies good is where this is. It's right there. It's toes over the line of good is The Strangers Chapter 1. Abby, go ahead.
Yeah, so again, I did not hate this movie. I think it was fine. If I had to rank the movies, I'd do Pray at Night, this one, and then the one from 2008. Because I have always been, I don't want to say a hater, but I kind of have been a hater of The Strangers. Like it's okay. It's just not that profound. I think people think it's more profound than it really is. But this one I think was a little bit more interesting. I'm curious to see where it goes with these sequels that are going to be coming out. And I think I'd watch it again. So I gave it 3.5.
All right. Aaron?
Yeah, this is one that has potential to go up or down once we see what Rennie does with 2 and 3. But pretty much everything Abby said, I agree with regards to the rankings. I'd say Pray at Night. I do think the tonal shift worked well and is my favorite of the 3, but this would be close. And then a far, far third would be 2008 Strangers. 3.5 for me as well, because I would revisit this. I wouldn't dread revisiting this as part of the 3 once they're all done. So when I'm willing to rewatch a movie and like talk about it this much, like it's a little more than a 3 for me. So 3.5.
All right. Yeah. See, none of us hated it. None of us said anything negative. Is it like, was it necessary? No, but I'm in it.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is one of our most like unanimously like agreed upon rating movies. Is this of all movies,
Right.
and not in a negative or positive way, like in the middle.
Yeah.
This is just above mediocre. You know what? That's exactly how I feel.
It's literally what it is.
Like all the characters that are, like I said, all the characters that like are just introduced in the town are clearly coming back. And
Yeah, Richard Brake will be back.
Yeah, like it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
All right, chill out. But like we do every week, the Why We Love Horror Challenge is also happening. So that's the website right there. Remember the last 5 letters there. It's lowercase r, lowercase l, capital W, lowercase d, capital I, or follow on TikTok. I go into it in much more detail there. This week, week 22, watch a horror movie that was made in Canada. So we ended on Aaron. So we'll start with Aaron. What Canadian movie did you watch?
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with my tastes in movies, I love the 70s. So anytime I can find an excuse to do so, I did so last week with Dr. Phoebes. This week we're going with Canada's Deliverance, is what it's been simply kind of made known within people who know it. It's called Rituals. It's about 5 doctors who get lost in northern Ontario forest, and hijinks ensue. And this one, it is similar in some ways. There's like a killer going after them, and it's hard to know if it's a person or like a benevolent force type of thing. And they're doctors, so they like know how to like. There's like certain like injuries that happen along the way, and they know like the severity and like the likeliness of survival. So they start making some like brutal decisions. It kind of feels like Deliverance, but it also gets like very existential along the way. And it's just another great example of a 70s movie where they get a bunch of really good actors like Hal Holbrook, and a couple other like character actors from the 70s that you'll know from different things, and they just let them act, and they don't add a lot of other things to it. But it was really good. I recommend it to anybody.
That sounds good.
It's on Prime.
Abby?
So I didn't say this up top, but I actually didn't get a chance to watch mine this week. But what I plan on watching is, and I assume that this is, I don't know if it was made in Canada, but it's made by a Canadian, so I assume that this counts. I was going to watch Antiviral by Brandon Cronenberg, because
That counts.
that does count. Great. So that's what I'm going to watch. I'll probably watch it tonight. That's the only movie of his that I have not watched. And I have been, I like his movies. I'm not like 5 stars for all of them. So I'm like curious about this one. I'm curious to see what I will think. But yeah, we'll see. I'll go to my Letterboxd and you'll see what I think.
Yeah. And I did exactly what Aaron would have wanted me to do. I went back in time and I watched a Cronenberg oldie. I watched Shivers, which is easily the horniest movie I've seen in a long time. I think in my review on Letterboxd, I said, like, if at any point in time, this is the zombie outbreak that would destroy the world. Like, because like what weird old man wouldn't turn down a co-ed trying to sleep with him? I mean, like the vector of infection in this movie is unique, and I don't think, aside from like kind of It Follows, no movie's really tackled this kind of thing. So you could tell even in the 70s, your boy was out there. I'd recommend it. I know it's not one of Aaron's favorites of the Cronenberg movies, but I do think it's probably necessary viewing to see where he was coming from. And the creature effects, again, total Cronenberg, even in the 70s. Like, I don't know how they did some of the things they did in this movie. So kudos to that.
Yeah, all the early Cronenberg, it still is Cronenberg. So it's it's graved on a curve. But like Shivers, Rabbit, all of those they're essential to watch.
Yeah. Well, that being said, that is the end of this week's episode. Thanks for stopping by. This has been Why We Love Horror. Remember, the schedule on this channel is always the same. Monday, we do Versus. Thursday, we do this. And then Horror Headlines be coming up live at 9 o'clock across all platforms. And then Friday, you get your double dose of Why We Love Horror trivia. This has been Why We Love Horror. We'll see you next week with In a Violent Nature.